At my retirement party, my wife handed me the divorce papers while our daughter actually celebrated. I just smiled, signed every page, and leaned in to tell her you really don't understand what you've just done. Her face went pale as she realized. Hey, Reddit, my wife of 19 years served me divorce papers at my retirement party in front of everyone. She really believed she was about to walk away with half of everything, convinced she was being clever. Shame it all blew up in ways she never even imagined. You might want to grab some popcorn for this dot named Rick, 49. Met Grace when I was 27. She was working reception at a dental clinic. Soft voice, bubbly personality, the whole sweet girl next door package. We got married after 2 years together. I bought our house using the inheritance my old man left me, and a year later our daughter, Tiffany, showed up. The early years were fine. I worked at Kellerman Printing, climbed up from press operator to production supervisor. Grace stayed home with Tiffany until she started school, then picked up part-time hours at a craft supply shop downtown. Maybe 20 hours a week, just enough to keep her occupied and give her pocket money. Then, about 3 years ago, something shifted. Grace kept saying she'd sacrificed her dreams for the family. What dreams, I still don't know. As far as I ever saw, her big life plan had been to marry a steady guy and live comfortably. Well, mission accomplished. Then came Paige, her divorced friend who acted like every married woman was trapped. After a few months of hanging around her, Grace changed. And Tiffany? She turned into a smaller version of her mother, spoiled, dramatic, always expecting more. I paid for her private school. She demanded the car. She insisted on having the emergency credit card that somehow kept getting used at the mall every week anyway. My retirement party was set for a Thursday night. 28 years at Kellerman. 28 years of 5 a.m. shifts, holiday rushes, and dealing with designers who thought deadlines were optional. A break room party was the least they could do. The place was full. Guys from every shift, my brother Neil and his wife Maria, a couple neighbors, and my buddy Nolan from the binder line. They had a sheet cake with my name in blue frosting and a generic, Happy Retirement banner taped to the wall. I was by the snack table talking to Nolan about his new Craigslist boat. He was bragging about snagging it cheap, just needed simple repairs, when I saw her. Grace, black dress, the pricey one, and in her hand, a manila folder held like she was delivering meeting minutes. She walked straight to me. Didn't greet anyone, stopped a few feet away and lifted the folder. Announced divorce papers loudly enough that half the room heard. Conversations died instantly. I opened the folder. Petition for dissolution, her signature already on page 4, dated 3 days earlier. Everything laid out, assets, support, division. Very neat, very planned. Got a pen, she handed one over and I signed. Every line, didn't argue, didn't read the details. Just signed my name while 30 people stood frozen. When I was done, I closed the folder, gave it back, leaned in and told her quietly, "You have no idea what you just did to yourself." Then I turned back to Nolan. So about that carburetor. That's when I heard clapping. Tiffany, 18, smirking like she'd rehearsed it, was by the door, applauding like her mom just won an award. Grace left without looking back. Tiffany followed. Room stayed silent for maybe 10 seconds before Nolan muttered, "Man, that was ice cold." Then people awkwardly went back to talking. My supervisor asked if I needed a minute. I told him I was fine. A guy from accounting whispered that his ex did something similar. Another just shook his head. I stayed another hour, ate cake, shook hands, accepted my little engraved plaque. When I got home, to the house I bought outright with my inheritance, in my name only thanks to how we did the deed back in 2001. I noticed her car was gone. Most of her clothes, too. She'd taken the china from her grandmother, the pricey coffee maker, and half the bathroom stuff. Left the furniture, too heavy to move alone. I sat on the couch, looked around at the bookshelf I built, the TV I bought, the rug we picked up at some outlet mall. Then my phone buzzed. Neil, Maria's freaking out. That was brutal. You okay? I replied, I'm great. Talk tomorrow. The first week after the party. Silence. No calls from Grace, no messages. Probably too busy celebrating with Paige and planning her new independent life. Good for her. Meanwhile, I stuck to my routine. Up at 6, breakfast at 7. A body used to 28 years of early mornings doesn't change overnight. By Tuesday, I had an appointment at the bank. Michelle, the banker, was sharp, professional, clearly used to handling divorce accounts. And that's when the real fun began. I told Michelle I needed to make some changes to my accounts. She pulled up my profile, joint checking with Grace Carver, and a savings account in my name only. I want a new checking account under just me, I said. And I need to move my share out of the joint account before things get complicated. She didn't even blink. How much half joint account balance was $9,200. My cut, $4,600. 20 minutes later, I walked out with a brand new account, a temporary debit card, and the receipt. Easy, that afternoon, I headed to a lawyer Martin Wickham, office above a bagel shop on Oak Street. Neil used him for estate paperwork and said he was straightforward and didn't nickel-and-dime clients. Martin looked mid-50s, the type who'd seen every messy divorce twice over. I handed him the documents Grace had ambushed me with. She served you at your retirement party, he said. Gotta say, she's got style. Dark style, but still. He skimmed through the stack. You actually read these before signing. I skimmed. He smirked, thought so. He kept flipping until he started laughing under his breath. Looks like she's asking for spousal support. About $2,500 a month by her math. And she's saying the house is marital property. Wants it sold and split down the middle. Thinks there's around $110K of equity, so she's expecting about $55K. He looked up at me. Anything I should know about that? The house is paid off, I said. Finished it 4 months back. Used my retirement money, took the penalty, cleared the whole thing. Title's been in my name since 2001 because the down payment came from my dad's inheritance. Martin put the papers down and whistled. She aware of any of that? She knew we were close to paying it off. Doubt she knew it was already done. Martin actually laughed. She's going to absolutely lose it. Then he asked what else I had going on, told him about rolling my pension into an IRA right after she served me. Mentioned the savings account she never kept track of, now at about $52,000. The truck paid off, titled to me. Tiffany's car in my name too, even if she'd been driving it. We spent another hour getting everything down. When we wrapped up, he walked me to the door. I'll file our response by Friday, he said. She's going to have a meltdown that night around 8. My phone rang. Tiffany. Dad, you need to help Mom find an apartment. I need to what? She's staying with Paige and it's awkward. She needs her own place. Then she should look for her own place. She doesn't have enough money. She's got half the joint account. $4,600. That'll cover a deposit and first month in plenty of places. Tiffany kept arguing. Said nothing. Nice was affordable. I told her then her mother needed to start considering less nice places. She called me petty. Tiffany, your mother served me divorce papers at my retirement party. You clapped, and now you're calling me petty for not bankrolling her new life. That's adorable, okay, but you're supposed to be the grown-up. I am. I signed the paperwork without making a scene. Whatever. She needs help and you're just sitting there eating steak like nothing happened. I paused. How do you know I'm eating steak? I can hear you chewing. Great hearing. Maybe try using it when people tell you things. She hung up. I finished the steak. It was fantastic. Around 9, Neil called. Maria's been talking to Grace, he said. Apparently you're the villain now. Shocking. She's telling everyone you hid money, that you tricked her, that the house should be hers. She was never on the title. It's been in my name since 2001. She just never paid attention. Neil laughed. Maria thinks you should give Grace half anyway because it's the right thing to do. Maria can think whatever she wants. Just warning you, Grace is out for blood. Expect a call. 10 minutes later, my phone rang again. Maria, we need to talk about Grace. No, we don't. She's devastated. She cries every day. She thought you two would fix things. And you just signed those papers like they meant nothing. They were divorce papers, Maria. You signed them. That's how they work. She kept insisting I could have fought for the marriage. I reminded her Grace served me in front of 30 people at my retirement party. What exactly was I supposed to fight for? Maria said Grace only did it publicly because she knew I'd ignore her privately. That she needed to make a statement. She made one, I said. And now she gets to live with it. Then she brought up the mortgage payoff, claiming I kept her in the dark and that this was why men like me end up alone. Men like me end up in paid-off houses with money in the bank. I said, I'll manage. She hung up on me. 2 weeks later, something interesting happened. Tiffany had left her laptop at my place when she rushed out after the party. Left it open on the kitchen counter. I wasn't snooping. I was going to pack it up for her to pick up later, but the screen was on. A message thread was open between Grace and someone named Alan Hart, emoji next to his name. I scrolled up. About 3 months back, Grace hadn't just been planning a divorce. She'd been planning a whole new life with Alan, 34 years old according to his pictures. Worked at some gym downtown, lots of flexing selfies, lots of abs. The messages were exactly what you'd expect. Her complaining about me, him calling me old and boring, her talking about the money she'd get. Him dreaming about moving in together, traveling, starting over. One message jumped out immediately, Grace. Once the house sells and I get my half-plus support, we'll have close to 80K to start with, plus the monthly payments. We can go anywhere, Alan. Can't wait, babe. You deserve this. We deserve this. Another one from a couple months back, Grace. He has no idea I've been talking to a lawyer. He thinks everything's normal. So clueless, Alan. So when are you leaving? Grace. Soon. Waiting for the right moment. Going to do it publicly so he can't argue. I took pictures of everything and sent them to Martin. His reply came within 3 minutes. This changes things. Sending these to my paralegal. Huge help to our case. Planning a divorce with another guy while still married. Judges do not like that. I figured as much. I closed Tiffany's laptop, packed it in its bag, and set it by the front door. She could pick it up whenever. I wasn't rushing to tell her I knew about Alan. Martin had all the ammunition he needed. Now we'd see how Grace's lawyer handled reality. Week 3 kicked off with a call from Grace's lawyer. A woman named Nan. Mr. Carver, I'm calling about the dissolution petition filed by my client. I got the papers. Yes, well, we haven't received your response and the deadline is approaching. My lawyer's handling it. And who is representing you? Martin Wick. She paused. I see. Well, please tell Mr. Wickham we'd like to move quickly. My client is eager to finalize everything and move forward. I'm sure she is, I said. Probably got plans in place already. I hung up and texted Martin. 5 minutes later, he responded. Let her wait. Response goes in Friday, including the boyfriend messages. Later that day, I ran into Paige at the grocery store. She was in produce, filling her cart like she was stockpiling for a hurricane. Oh, Rick, she said, wearing the smuggest look a human face can hold. I heard about the party. What Grace did took real courage. Courage, I said. Interesting choice of word. She grabbed an avocado and squeezed it like she knew what she was doing. Then she mentioned how Grace told her about the house, how I was insisting it was mine. I'm not insisting anything, I said. The deed's been in my name for 19 years. Anyone can look it up. Well, she deserves half. She lived there. She turned it into a home. She picked paint colors and bought throw pillows, and I paid the mortgage, I said. Little bit of a difference. That's a very cold view of marriage, she snapped. Marriage ended, Paige. Grace made sure of that. Now it's paperwork. And the paperwork is pretty clear. She set the avocado down hard. This is why she left you. You only care about what's yours. You never see the bigger picture where she gets my house and my money while she cozies up with her boyfriend. That picture. Paige froze. I don't know what you're talking about, Alan. 34. Jim Guy. Plenty of texts about their future once the divorce money comes through. Anything ringing a bell? She grabbed her cart. I need to go. Tell Grace I said hello. And tell Alan he might want to look for a second job. That 80K they were banking on, turning into zero real fast. She stormed off. I finished my shopping in peace. Friday arrived. Martin filed our response and emailed me a copy that afternoon. 14 pages breaking down every asset, every account, every detail Grace had conveniently gotten wrong. The highlight, a request that she pay her share of household expenses for the 6 months before she filed. Since she'd been living in my house, eating my groceries, using my utilities, all while planning her exit with Alan. Martin also added a polite section explaining that given the real asset braked on her relationship with Alan during the marriage and her ability to work full-time, spousal support wasn't appropriate. Attached were screenshot prints of her messages with Alan. Everyone where they talked about the divorce payout and their big plans. I read it twice. Then called him. We need to talk about Tiffany's car, I said. I explained it was titled in my name. I'd just been letting her use it. But legally it was mine. Martin said if she was choosing her mother's side, it might be time to remind her that a lot of the things she considered hers weren't. You know what, Martin added, the car stays with me. If she wants it, she can make payments. He laughed. I'll put that in. That weekend, Nolan called and asked if I wanted to help with his boat. I spent Saturday afternoon sanding the deck while he tinkered with the motor. Your ex still losing her mind? He asked over lunch. Probably, I said. Haven't heard from her directly. He cracked a drink and told me about his own divorce, how brutal it was. She wanted everything, he said. House, truck, my fishing gear, even tried to get my tools. What you do? Got a good lawyer. Kept what was mine. Learned fast that being nice in a divorce just means you lose quicker. He took a long sip. You doing all right, though? Seriously, I thought about the quiet house, the paid-off mortgage, the money saved, the ribeyes I could cook whenever I wanted. Yeah, I said. I'm doing just fine. Nolan set his iced tea down. You know the best thing about divorce, he said. You realize how much of your energy went to someone who didn't deserve it. And then suddenly, you get all of it back. He told me to tell the story however I wanted, so I did. His ex used to complain about everything, the house, the truck, his job. After she left, he realized none of it mattered. He was fine. She was the problem. 4 weeks later, Tiffany showed up at my place. I was in the garage when the doorbell rang. She stood there with her hand out. "I need the spare key to the Mazda." "Hello to you too," I said. "Dad, I lost mine." "Just give me the key. It's my car. It's a car I let you use. Big difference." She pushed past me, saying this was ridiculous and that her mother warned her I'd act like this. "I need it for work and school, then walk. It's summer. Hot days are part of life." She glared at me. "You're being a jerk. I'm being practical. You want the car? Pay the insurance." "I can't afford that." "Then you can't afford the car." She stormed out and tried starting the Mazda. I'd already pulled the battery. "Just being careful," Grace called minutes later. "You disconnected Tiffany's car. I removed the battery from the car I own. She needs it. You're punishing her because she supported me. I'm teaching her that whoever pays for something makes the rules. She's going to hate you. She already cheered when you served me divorce papers." "Hard to get worse." Silence. Then she accused me of changing. "No," I said. "I just stopped pretending the last 5 years were good. You want it out, you're out. But you don't get my money, my car, or the right to teach our daughter she can treat me like trash." 10 minutes later, Tiffany called again, crying this time. "Dad, I'm sorry. Please, can I use the car? It's not your car. But come by tomorrow." 2 o'clock. I reinstalled the battery to make sure it worked, then took it out again. She showed up the next day without attitude, eyes red. "Can I please use the car?" "That depends. Do you know why you're in this situation?" She looked down. "Because I clapped at the party, and because you picked your mom's side without knowing anything. Because you acted entitled." She said her mother told her I was hiding money and trying to screw Grace over. So I told her the truth. Grace had planned the divorce, had a 34-year-old trainer boyfriend named Alan, and they planned to use my money to start over. "She has a boyfriend," she whispered. "Yeah. And she didn't tell you a lot of things." I stood up. "Here's the deal. You want the car, you pay the insurance, $300 a month. You want the credit card, pay your charges. You want help with college. Show some respect. Can I think about it? Take your time." Until then, no car and no card. That night Neil called, saying I was being too harsh. "She's 18, I said. "Old enough to clap at my humiliation, old enough for consequences." 2 days later, Tiffany texted that she'd pay the insurance and her bill. I told her to come Saturday at 10. She arrived on time. Signed the insurance. Linked her account. I handed her the keys at the door. She paused. "Dad, I'm sorry for everything. I appreciate it. We're not okay yet, but we're getting there." 8 weeks in, things were falling apart for Grace. I was fixing the weather stripping when a car pulled up. Paige was driving. Grace got out. She stopped at the porch. "We need to talk about your response." "About what Martin filed." "You attached my private messages." "I attached evidence," I said. "Your plans to use marital assets for your new life. All relevant." Paige stepped out of the car looking uncomfortable. Grace came up 2 steps and said, "I lived in this house for 19 years. "You did," I answered. "But you don't get half. Your name isn't on the deed, and you never paid the mortgage. I contributed to the marriage. You worked 20 hours a week and spent your paycheck on yourself. I worked 60 hours a week for nearly 3 decades and paid every bill." Her face went red. She said Neen could fight this, that a judge would think I was being unreasonable. Neen can say whatever she wants. "The facts are in the filing. Challenge them if you think you can." She glared at me. "You act like I'm some gold digger. I gave you the best years of my life. You're 46. You've got plenty of years left. Go spend them with Alan." She went pale. I asked where he was now. "Funny how he vanished once he realized there was no big payout coming." "That's not true." "You texted him about the money. He stopped replying." "Tiffany told me." "She said she wouldn't. She's learning that loyalty goes both ways." Paige called from the driveway saying they should leave. Grace ignored her, saying the apartment she found needed $5,000 to move in. "You have $4,600 from the joint account," I said. "I need that for living expenses. Then find a cheaper apartment." We argued. Her saying she gave me 19 years, me reminding her I gave her the same 19 years and paid for all of them. She wanted Alan, his muscles, and some fantasy life. Well, now she had the reality. She started crying. "This isn't how it was supposed to go. Oh, you take my money, move in with your boyfriend, and live happily ever after." She said Neen claimed I was hiding assets. I told her Martin said she was delusional and I trusted him more. Paige finally came up the steps and took her arm. "Grace looked at me one last time. You're going to regret this." "I doubt it." They left. That evening Martin called. Neen had filed an emergency motion for temporary support, hearing next Tuesday at 2. I said I'd be there one more week, 10 weeks since the retirement party. Grace was finally understanding what I whispered that night. The hearing took 35 minutes. Small courtroom, old book smell. Neen argued Grace had no income, no place to live, sacrificed her career. The usual Martin responded with her work history, part-time by choice, plus the $4,600 she'd already taken. Then he handed the judge the messages between her and Alan about splitting my money. The judge, a sharp woman in her 60s, barely reacted to Neen's speech. She asked Grace if she'd been planning the divorce while living in my house, texting her boyfriend about using my assets. Grace tried to explain. The judge cut her off and asked if she could work full-time. Grace said yes, but started making excuses. Wrong move. The judge closed the file and said Grace had clearly planned to mislead the court. Motion denied. Asset division would follow the documents Martin filed. Done outside, Grace stood on the courthouse steps with Neen, both looking stunned. I walked by without speaking. Martin met me at my truck. Better than expected. She'll probably try to settle now. I'm open to reasonable offers. Then he told me Alan had ghosted her completely, blocked her, disappeared, wiped his socials. I laughed. Shocking that a 34-year-old gym trainer who wanted to live off divorce money turned out to be unreliable. Martin grinned and said his paralegal heard Grace tried showing up at Alan's gym. He quit the next day. I drove home lighter than I had in months. Funny how the universe evens things out. 2 weeks later, Neen sent a settlement offer. Grace would take what was left in the joint account, her car, her personal things, and $3,500 from my savings. No house, no ongoing support. No future claims. Martin asked what I thought. She wants $3,500. Counter with $2,000. Final offer. She won't like it. Then she can go back in front of the judge. An hour later, he called back. She'd accepted. Apparently, she cried signing it and said I'd ruined her life. Martin also mentioned she'd been applying for full-time jobs but wasn't getting hired. Reality finally catching up. The divorce was finalized on a Thursday. I didn't attend. Martin handled everything. I sent the $2,000 and that was that night. Tiffany texted saying her mom was struggling, working at Target, and living in a rough apartment. I replied. She made her choices. Then she asked if we could have dinner, just the two of us. Sure. Saturday. I'll grill. 2 months later, life felt normal again. Tiffany came over every other Saturday. She was figuring out work, bills, college plans. She was paying her insurance on time, paying her own credit card, finally learning responsibility. One Saturday she came early, sat on my workbench. Mom's dating again. Older guy, has money. She asked me for help with her apartment deposit. I said, and I told her no good. She'll live. Tiffany admitted she'd been a brat for years, expected everything, never thought about consequences. I let that happen, I said. But you're changing now. That's what matters. Are we good now? She asked. I'm your dad. We're always working on it. We grilled that night and talked about her classes in the fall. 3 months after the divorce, Nolan took me out on the lake. We fished, didn't catch anything, didn't care. You feel bad for her? He asked. I thought about it. No. She made her choices. I'm just living mine. Good answer. He said. 4 months after the divorce, I ran into Grace at the grocery store. She was stocking up on cheap frozen meals. She looked tired. You look good, she said. Like you're doing okay. I am. She mentioned Tiffany tells her we have dinner every other week. That's good. She needs her dad. She said Target paid the bills and her new boyfriend, Bradley, was helping her find a better place. Good for you, I said. Then she looked down. I was wrong about a lot. About Alan, about the money, about how this would go. I thought you'd just give me what I wanted. You always did before you served me papers at my retirement party. She nodded. I know. I'm sorry for that, for the party. F.